Welcome in to the DNVR Rockies Podcast. I'm your host, Patrick Lyons, and joining us on a special day for our podcast, probably not a special day for him. Sorry you have to be introduced that way. Cody Delmendo from CHGO Cubs. What's up, Cody?
Yeah, it'd be so much better if the Cubs didn't just lose 2 or 3, but as I say a lot on CHGO Cubs, you know, it's big of me to come on and do the show after Cubs losses. Some people might just want to go on for the wins, but, you know, I show up for both wins and losses because, you know, we're there for the people whenever they're up and when they're down too. So it's kind of weird that you actually had me on here after you guys took 2 or 3, but still big of me to come on here and do this.
Yeah, that's how big that you are here. Hopefully, at least for your sake, we don't really have any stake in the game, so to speak, here in Colorado. But when you go to Phoenix now, you're not on the PHNX Diamondbacks pod talking about another Cubs loss. Rockies take the series 2 out of 3, as you alluded to. First time that they've won a series since the last time a team from Chicago was in town, August 18th through 20th, where they nearly swept the White Sox.
Wow. What do you guys have on us in Chicago, man?
Well, that's what it is you know what? If the Chicagoans want to come in and take over Coors Field, it's the Rockies' job to give them the worst possible time. They've done that.
You got to think that the players for the Rockies like to see all of the Cubs fans. I don't know about you. It was, to me, it looked 75% Cubs fans at all 3 games this week. And so the players for the Rockies, I mean, that they probably had, you know, they had a chip on their shoulder. I mean, listen, baseball is so weird. Like, and I saw this a lot with last year's Cubs team. Like, that team wasn't that good, but in September of last year, I remember them. They swept the Phillies not once but twice. They went 6-0 against the Phillies last year.
Wow.
They swept the Mets in September of last year, a team that won like 9. I think they won 100 games. Like, it was like you start going down the stretch, and these teams that are in playoff races are playing these bad teams. These bad teams, they don't necessarily have anything to play for. They're just playing loose.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, these teams in the playoffs, like they're scoreboard watching. They're trying to hang on for dear life, and so. Yes, it's disappointing that the Cubs lost 2 of 3 to the Rockies this week, but also it doesn't necessarily surprise me just because baseball is just so weird and you can never predict it. It's a very disappointing series for the Cubs, and hopefully this off day tomorrow will help them regain whatever they need to regain. And, you know, on the flip side, they just lost 3 or 4 to the Diamondbacks at home. They have to have a chip on their shoulder going into Chase Field on Friday. So that's kind of my hope. But
that's baseball, as they say. Yeah, Kristen, a.k.a. Dr. Nighthawk, thanks for beating the Cubs. Cubs fans, show up. You'll give them that. Kristen, you absolutely have to. Rockies get to play spoiler. And that's what it is. It's these young guys getting to cut their teeth. There are guys on the Cubs last year who were kind of doing that same thing. So it really is an opportunity. One of the best series that the Rockies played early on in the year, and in June, when they went to Boston to Fenway Park, and they took 2 of 3 from the Red Sox and looked really good. And it was exciting for those young guys. We actually have an article up now at the DNVR.com for free about those Colorado Cannons. I wanted to know, what was your impression of Nolan Jones in left, did play a little center, but Brenton Doyle in center field. Even Charlie on Tuesday night had an outfield assist. What was your thought on either the Cubs base running or just the arms that the Rockies have in the outfield?
Well, I was really impressed by Nolan Jones.
Yeah.
I really was really impressed about Nolan Jones. Obviously, before the series, the only guy I can think of on the Rockies coming in was Kris Bryant, obviously.
And actually, before the series started, he wasn't even on the team. He was still on the IL.
Right. But getting these 3 days to see what the Rockies have, I mean, Nolan Jones looks like someone I can't just say Kris Bryant. Ryan McMahon is someone that I've thought is good for a while, but
good comp.
Yeah, Nolan Jones, he hit the home run today. He's looked really good against the Cubs this week. But as far as I'd like to give some credit to the Rockies for throwing guys out, but I just want to be mad at the Cubs for just making bad base running decisions. But so I guess it's a little bit of both. But yeah, I think Doyle, if he can figure out the bat, you got something there. But the defense is there for sure. He looked pretty good out there, and even I don't know. I don't think Goodman made a lot of plays defensively, but with the bat, he looked impressive.
He did a nice job playing a ball off the wall, which was like, we were all like, hey, wow. Like, really, he played that appropriately because of all the different textures. Yeah, there was, we've been saying it all season long with the Colorado Cannons, with Jones and Doyle, just so many outfield assists, 15 for Nolan Jones, leads baseball, third most in Rockies history. Brenton Doyle, he got his 10th on Tuesday night. Why are teams being so aggressive? And I wrote about that today. But we saw that in two different spots in today's Cubs game. Willie Harris holding up that stop sign with a runner on third base. She had bases loaded, I want to say, in the 8th, with Suzuki on third base, and fly ball out to Doyle.
Yep.
Stop. Yep. Do not.
Yep.
Do not.
Yeah, no, I was sitting second row right field territory, so I saw what happened, and then to see they didn't even try with Suzuki, it was just kind of like, guys, we're down 4 runs, might as well give it a shot. But the way that he's played defense this series, it's kind of like, all right.
Well, did you see where his throw came in home? I mean, it was right to the catcher's chest. It was a fastball.
It was like a kind of in that mid center left center area, right?
It wasn't terribly deep.
Yeah, it wasn't super deep, right? I think that's huge for the Rockies in their future, right? Because the outfield, they're so big, and they're probably going to need some really good defensive outfielders to start building up. Listen, I've been through 2 rebuilds in a decade, right? I know how it goes. It's not fun, but whenever you finally get to that part where you start to turn the corner, it's a lot more. It's so fulfilling because you sat through all the bad times too. So. For Rockies fans watching, man, like I understand. So that I will say that before the series, I was like, what do the Rockies have to like lean on to be excited about for the future?
Right.
And here at the end of the series, I'm like, wow, I know they're probably going to lose 100 games, but they do have some guys, and I feel like a big part of their success is they need Kris Bryant to stay healthy. Like he should be the best player on the team alongside Ryan McMahon, and like him not being able to stay on the field, unfortunately, I know all about. But it's I think that's a major key. Obviously, pitching's a major thing for them too.
For sure.
But that's always been a thing here.
Let's talk about Kris Bryant in a second. But as you said, the 100 losses with today's win, hey, 2 in a row. I mean, is that a winning streak? I think you need 3 actually for it to be unofficially, officially, a winning streak. But Rockies still would need to go 10-7 to avoid 100 losses. And with who they've got remaining on the schedule, Cubs are going to want to give it back to them in Wrigley next week. 4 against the Dodgers, 3 against the Twins to finish up the season. Maybe not as much. You definitely can take a series from the Padres in San Diego next week. 4 games against the Giants coming up here this weekend, where they've only won 1 out of 9 contests against the Giants. But I want to get it from you. I'm not trying to pile on here, but the worst of the week for you. What was the worst storyline for Cubs fan? And this is almost all going to be about the Rockies, but was it that Kris Bryant hit his first home run against the Cubs? Didn't do it against the Giants. Didn't do it last year with the Rockies. And then, of course, he hit his second home run today. You talk about him being healthy and being on the field. 2 home runs from him, 2 wins from the Rockies. Was it Pete Crow-Armstrong and his mess of troubles? Cubs losing 2 of 3 to the worst team in the National League? Or just the general fundamental issues in the outfield today? 2 misplayed balls. Only one of them was actually ruled an error. A couple caught stealing attempts. A couple failed sacrifice bunts as well. For you, if you were on the CHGO Cubs podcast right now, what would you be railing against the most right now?
I'd probably be railing against the, just the lack of fundamentals, because the Cubs this year, the reason that they are in the playoff race is that they have been one of the best defensive teams in all of baseball, with Dansby, Swanson, and Nico Hoerner up the middle.
Dansby.
Cody Bellinger in center or at first base. And, PCA, you had a 80 grade outfield or an 80 grade for, outfield defense in the minors. Like, I know it's just the first few games in and the sun and all that, whatever. Yeah. It should have been an error. I can't believe they didn't give him an error for that, but, whatever. To me, what I'm trying to say is that the Cubs have gotten to this point to be in the playoffs, perhaps, because they don't beat themselves. And I feel like two of these 3 games, and even almost the first game of the series. I mean, if it weren't for Yan Gomes coming up, big in that 9th inning, they easily could have got swept. But for me, like, it's these. Like the bad base running, Ian Happ not catching that ball today that led to the 2-run homer. It's little things like that where for most of this year, the Cubs have been really good about not doing that. And I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's just because they're in a tight playoff race right now and guys are tired and, I know the bullpen's kind of taxed right now, but it's just, to me, at this point, with where this team is at, they've outperformed what, Picota, all the prediction rankings or prediction websites, they've outperformed it. They are on pace to, at least win, 85 to 90 games at the very least, right? And to see them play like this against the worst team in the National League, especially, is very frustrating. So that's my biggest thing is like, if they would have lost 2 or 3 and they didn't beat themselves, I'd probably just give the Rockies more credit for, whether it be hitting or if our pitching just wasn't very good. But for the most part, I mean, even Tyone, I thought Tyone was okay today outside of his 1 bad inning.
Early on,
But
yeah, and if that had been ruled an error, we were kind of joking in the press box, like, would they go back and change that if he had like a no-hitter going? Because it should have been an error. It was ruled a double at first, but he was pretty much cruising for those first 3 innings. And you go, all right, they might have to go back and maybe correct that. And, on the flip side of the coin, the Rockies didn't beat themselves, which, again, a team that's on pace to lose 100 games, they are going to beat themselves and lose games like that. But the bullpen came through. Tyler Kinley, a 5-out save, looking really solid. But he did say post-game that Justin Lawrence was available, but they didn't really want to use him. Kinley wasn't really available on Tuesday night. He just coming back from Tommy John surgery. Didn't want to use him 3 games in a row. So Justin Lawrence got the save there on Tuesday night. And look, save any party or gathering that you're going to with some Breckenridge bourbon, the official bourbon of the Denver Broncos. Amazing stuff. Right now, they've got a hashtag Broncos Bourbon. That's the hashtag to check out. Right now, they've got a cool thing where you could win 2 tickets, actually, to the Breckenridge Bourbon Whiskey Suite at Mile High in Power Field for the Broncos-Chargers game at the end of the season on December 31st. Post your favorite Broncos photograph to Instagram and Facebook using hashtag Broncos Bourbon by the end of November, because on December 1st, they're going to narrow down their choices to 10 fan favorites. There's going to be a fan vote for a week. Most votes wins the tickets and some Breckenridge Distillery and Broncos swag. To enter, go to BreckenridgeDistillery.com/Bourbon of Denver Broncos /. You can check out that in the podcast or even in the YouTube description on that. They're actually going to be at all of our Broncos tailgates and at the DNVR bar watch parties all year long. Check out for their Ricky Seltzers. It's made with Breck Spirits. It's a sure go-to. Check those out for sure. Breckenridge Distillery products are distributed and available in all 50 states. Shop your local retailer and visit BreckenridgeDistillery.com for home delivery of award-winning Breckenridge spirits at Prey anywhere. And DraftKings Sportsbook, football is back. I mean, Broncos, it's back. They're 0-1. Bears, 0-1. It's back, but they're also 0-1. And, but there's going to be more epic games coming up all over DraftKings Sportsbook. And you know that they've got you covered on action for every single one of them. DraftKings Sportsbook is an official sports betting partner of the NFL. New customers, you can bet $5 on football and get $200 instantly in bonus bets. Nobody's missing out on all the action, especially not when you are a DraftKings customer. Take advantage of 2 new offers every game all throughout the month of December. So get in on the NFL Week 2 action with DraftKings Sportsbook. Download the app now and use code DNVR to sign up. New customers can bet just $5 and take home $200 instantly in bonus bets only on DraftKings Sportsbook and only with code DNVR because the crown can be yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY. In West Virginia, visit www.1800gambler.net in partnership with Hollywood Casino at Charlestown Races. All games regulated by West Virginia Lottery. Please play responsibly. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-777 or visit ccpg.org on behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas. 21 or older in most eligible states, but age varies by jurisdiction. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details and state-specific responsible gambling resources. Bonus bets expire 7 days after issuance. Eligibility and deposit restrictions apply. Terms at sportsbook.draftkings.com/football terms. Rockies had a really interesting lineup tonight. I don't know if you looked at it and anything jumped out at you, but we talked about a pregame. It was fun. Quirky. Nolan Jones batting leadoff, kind of doing the Charlie Blackmon 2.0. And Buddy said, hey, keep doing your normal thing. If you want to run into a first pitch fastball for a leadoff home run, go ahead and do it. He didn't, but eventually he did add that 2-run home run. We saw Montero batting cleanup. He extended his on-base streak to 21 consecutive games, third longest amongst active streaks going on in baseball. And Susie actually at the ballpark there today at Coors Field got a chance to catch up with Elihuris Montero postgame. Here's what he had to say about his strong performance and the Rockies' 7-3 win on Wednesday.
En realidad me sentí bien contento porque estaba bateando de cuatro bates y estaba como que quería como que demostrar que yo puedo estar ahí en esa posición.
Yeah, I was extremely happy to be in that position. You know, I want to be the fourth hitter. I want to be the cleanup hitter, and honestly, I wanted to show them that I can do it.
That homer you hit came off the first pitch. What did you see on that? Did you know it was going out?
Cuando no era el primer picheo, ¿pensaste que se iba a ir luego o qué pensaste que pichó?
Bueno, en realidad no pensé que se iba a ir, pero sí la conecté duro y había chance de que se vaya.
Yeah, I didn't really know it was going to be gone, but I did know I hit it hard, and I think I had a chance.
Bueno, en realidad he seguido jugando duro. Lo que he cambiado es que he estado mirando más picheos y dejando pasar los picheos fuera de la zona y haciéndole decir lo que están en la zona.
You know, I continue to work hard. You know, the biggest thing is not swinging at balls, you know, getting in the strike zone and swinging at good pitches.
Montero can absolutely mash. He's been great. In the chat, Tiago Souza says, is Jones bound to be the greatest Rockies ever? I mean, at this pace, yes, but teams will figure him out. Yeah. I mean, I don't even know if he's on pace to be the greatest Nolan ever. He's got that far to go.
It's hard to beat that other one.
Yes. He'll definitely at least be the second greatest Nolan. But we've got a long way to go for that. It'll be exciting to find out if he actually does do that. Stevie saying, hey, you know what? The Rockies are pretty good, and they're a young up-and-coming team. Appreciate all that. Jaromir Jagr. You're friends with Jaromir Jagr?
Apparently. I'm not recognizing the name, but as far as like the YouTube name,
chat's blowing up on YouTube.
Yeah, that's awesome.
People are enjoying seeing you guys here for sure.
Yeah. No, that's I appreciate the shout out.
There you go. Ty Blach, solid guy. Look, I mean, he's playing for a spot next year. He wants a spot in rotation and pretty much has deserved it. He's been, as Bud Black said pregame, a godsend. Like he's really stepped up in a big way, provided innings, consistency at Coors Field to go 5 innings and only give up 3 earned runs. That's virtually a quality start in this ballpark. When you say,
yeah, I thought, and this goes back to like, is this the Cubs not doing what they're supposed to do, or is this the Rockies pitchers like just doing what no one, at least coming in, expected? I thought Chris Flexen did pretty well, all things considered, last night, and then today, Ty Blach for sure. Yeah, he kind of struggled early, but then kind of was able to give you 2 innings of just keeping it close. And I knew when it was 3-0, I was like, they got us. We're at Coors Field. They got to score at least 3 more runs. And, they didn't. And here we are talking about a 7-3 Rockies win instead of a 7-3 or something, Cubs win, right?
The Cubs had 9 hits in the first 4 innings. There was a lot of traffic.
They just couldn't get all those runs in.
To my recollection, I don't think there was any double plays. It was just holding the runner there at third base during one of those rallies. I think Pete Crow-Armstrong wasn't able to get a sacrifice bunt down. That's I guess fine. I mean, you'd rather have him at first base than I think it might have been Amaya there at second or at first base. But still, it's just little fundamental things.
PCA struck out with the bases loaded too. I think in that second inning, I want to say maybe that's the same inning that we're talking about. Yeah, they just left a lot of runners on, and that has been a thing with the Cubs all season that's been frustrating. But I feel like every fan would say that about their team. Like that's whether they're good or bad, they'll talk about that because teams just go through ups and downs. No matter how good or how bad you are, the peak moments, the best, like when they're in a good stretch, everyone's coming through with runners in scoring position. Yeah. And whenever you're just kind of like treading water, which I feel like the Cubs have been doing over the last few handful weeks, like some guys will come through and some guys won't, and you're just kind of riding the roller coaster. And I feel like that's what the Cubs have been giving the fans over the last handful of weeks, and they need to finish the season strong if they plan on making the playoffs or even have any hope maybe of still winning the division. They need Milwaukee to lose tonight, and we'll see. But yeah, like that's they had their opportunities, and I thought when Swanson drove in those 2 runs early in the game, I was like, okay, maybe I'll finally get a comfortable one where I don't have to sweat it out for 9 innings, but didn't happen because they just couldn't score more runs. To me, that them beating themselves and then just not being able to score runs in bunches a lot more this series against obviously a team that's not good, a pitching staff that for the most part hasn't been very good.
Struggled, yeah.
They really missed out on an opportunity to gain some ground in the division and build on their lead in the wild card. So that overall just very disappointing for the Cubs. And if you're a Rockies fan, you have to feel excited about some guys at least, And again, like I said, I've been through rebuilds. I will take all the silver linings I can get during the rebuilds.
Cody, well, a couple things there. You're hitting all the buzzwords here. If this was Pee Wee's Playhouse, I mean, Cherry would be going crazy right now because silver linings. I mean, the Rockies literally have a silver lining around their letters, and that's what we call our post game shows when the Rockies lose. So we've had a lot of the silver linings podcasts, and then rebuild. We don't use that word.
No,
Rockies ownership. Does not allow that word to
Well, I've said it like 5 times on your show. Sorry.
No, we use it, but Rockies ownership does not allow that. They don't believe in that, despite the fact that they're going to lose 100 games, and they were hoping to maybe win around 500. At least that's what the owner had wanted. It's a dicey subject. Kris Bryant can be a dicey subject at time, but he went 2 for 4 on Tuesday night. During that win, he had a walk. He had a kind of 2 RBI single that was like, all right, I guess I got lucky. But he homered on Tuesday night, homered on Wednesday. It was his 3rd time going back-to-back for the Rockies. 15th career home run, his 10th this year. As Jake Shapiro mentioned there, good to see him there. At the ballpark, mentioned 7 of his 15 home runs have come like in groups, in bunches. The back-to-backs. He had a 2-homer game last year with a solo homer game in the following game. So he definitely hits them in bunches. So for anyone that doesn't know, because we really haven't seen Kris Bryant much. I did the math, and I want to say it's like May 11th of next year. If he plays the rest of this season out, and he plays every game at the beginning of next year, some point in early May, maybe it was May 7th, Kris Bryant will have finally played his 162nd game for the Colorado Rockies in year 3 of that 7-year, $182 million deal. So, Cody, you have some experience with Kris Bryant.
I do.
Give Rockies fans some hope, some hype on at least what you've gotten from them and what they can expect from him, maybe in bunches. You're not promising anything. You're not guaranteeing anything. But that would be a nice little gesture to make them feel better.
Listen, a lot of Cubs fans, the way that what they call the core left the Cubs, like Rizzo, Bryant, Baez, Schwarber, it was one of the trade deadline of 2021 was one of the more sadder days of my life. But it was like we knew that something had to happen. Did I expect them all to go? No, I did not. I expected them to keep Rizzo. I always hoped that Bryant was the one that they were going to keep because I just always thought he was the better player. He was the better player for the Cubs.
Wow.
He won Rookie of the Year in 2015. He won National League MVP in 2016 en route to helping them win the World Series. 2017, you can argue he had an even better year than he did in 2016 based off Fangraphs WAR, I'm pretty sure. Don't let the facts get in the way of a good story. And then 2018, he was off to a great start, but then got the shoulder injury, sliding into third base, I want to say. Maybe it was second base. Like, it's been so long. But when he got that shoulder injury in 2018, that's when the health things started to be a conversation when you're talking about Kris Bryant.
Yeah.
He tried to come back. He legitimately tried to change his swing just to come back and play. And it honestly, in a way, hurt the Cubs. And that's why they lost to the Rockies in the wild card game that year, right? They won 95 games, but they were on fumes at the end of the year that year. And injuries were a big part of it. But then you go into 2019, he was good for half the season, then kind of tweaked his knee. And was just, he really struggled second half of 2019. And then 2020, he played like 30 of the 60 games. The numbers weren't great. 2021, he was fairly healthy for all the time that he was with the Cubs in 2021.
Was an all-star.
Yeah,
in 2021 here at Colorado, he was representing the Cubs.
Yeah, he was an all-star, but he still had nagging injuries where he would take days off every now and then. And, the injury stuff, it got to a point where every fan was just screaming every time he would sit out because of a nagging injury or something like that. And then, gets traded and goes to the Giants. But for me, my thing for him, if you're a Rockies fan, you just I don't know, you got to put bubble wrap around this guy at this point. If he stays healthy, he will hit. He is one of the best hitters I've ever seen in a Cubs uniform. And I truly believe that. To me, it's sad that he had such a rise. I mean, it wasn't just National League Rookie of the Year. He was College Player of the year before. He was minor league, or 2 years before, Minor League Player of the year before he came up to the Cubs. He skyrocketed to, they had billboards outside Wrigley Field before he even made his Major League debut.
Yes.
He was what they call a phenom. When you talk about guys like Ellie De La Cruz for the Reds or Pete Crow-Armstrong now for the Cubs, I don't even think PCA will ever get close to being anything close to what Kris Bryant was for the Cubs. And I think PCA is great, and he has a high ceiling, and he can be a very good player for the Cubs one day. But Kris Bryant was a rare talent because the Cubs tanked and got the second overall pick, and luckily the Astros took a pitcher instead of him. When the Cubs got Kris Bryant, you knew that he was going to be the guy in the middle of your lineup every day going forward once he got to the majors. And, it was a sad ending. And, everyone thought that once they won in 16, the Cubs were going to be a dynasty. They were going to win multiple championships with that core. Listen, they broke a 108-year curse. I'll never complain about only winning one. To me, they probably should have won a few more if they would have been able to develop on their minor league farm system a lot better. They were one of the worst farm systems in baseball before they traded Rizzo, Bryant, and Baez away. That was a big reason why they did it, because they needed to revamp their farm system, and they had to change all these things up in terms of how they develop talent and all this stuff. So they had to reset. But yeah, I mean, to me, he just has to stay healthy. I think he will perform if he stays healthy. And I feel like Rockies fans are probably like, yeah, duh, dude, because we haven't even seen him play. How can we even have any expectations whenever he hasn't played? Because that's how I would feel. If I was a Rockies fan, I would just be disappointed that he hasn't played. I wouldn't be able to tell you if he's good or bad. Yeah. He just can't stay on the field. You know what I mean? But when he's on the field, and you saw it these last 2 days, 2 homers in 2 days, he took a walk today too. The guy knows how to get on base. He's an underrated base runner, in my opinion. And I like the fact that they're playing him at first base too now here in the back half of his quote unquote prime / back end of his career.
Yeah.
Just because I know that the outfield is so much different than what it is at Wrigley. He played a solid outfield for the Cubs, but I think for Coors Field, probably playing first base or I don't think he could go back to third, but first base probably suits him best now. So if they start playing him at first regularly and he hits, I think you got something there. And personally, I'll be rooting for him. As much as I hate seeing him hit homers against his former team, I am a huge Kris Bryant guy. And obviously, it's easy for me to say that he won a World Series for me and my fandom and all that. But when he is right, he is one of the best players in the league, in my opinion. And if you look at, I think it's from 2015 to 2020. When you look at, the top 10 players in F4 from that time span, from 15 to 20, he's in the top 10 in all of baseball in F4. So that shows how valuable he was for the Cubs during those years. Yeah. And so, I just think for him and for the Rockies, they absolutely need to find a way to keep him on the field. And I think playing him at first base is a good start because you don't have to be on your feet as much, and I think that allows him to focus as much as he can on hitting too.
Yeah.
So I hope that helps. I don't know.
No, I think so. I think that will make people feel a little bit better. Like you said, he just has to stay healthy. I still think with his swing, he can win a batting title. Now, batting title isn't the be all end all. Go win a Triple Crown is worth a lot more than just the highest batting average. Well, you play in a ballpark where the BABIP is obviously a lot higher because balls are falling in. But even as you said, just his approach at the plate, he was down 0-2 in that at bat where he was able to draw a walk. What's really funny about the Cubs taking him second overall in the 2013 MLB draft is, as you said, Cubs were tanking. They had a strategy. They had a plan. Do you know who picked right after the Cubs that year? In 2013,
the Rockies, right?
It was the Rockies, who did not have a plan of being really bad. They were trying to be good, and yet they still had their worst season up to this point of this year. That was their worst season, 64-98. And they were trying. That's one of the differences between the Cubs and Rockies, at least right now. Cubs have been the lovable losers for decades. That's why so many people like yourself thought we're never going to win a World Series. And then you have, a genius like Theo Epstein come in. Yeah. And we've kind of joked here that, if you ever see Theo Epstein at Coors Field, just know he's interviewing the ownership of the Rockies, not the other way around.
Yeah.
He doesn't need to interview for any job. He needs to make sure that the Rockies would be on board for any of his plans. But, a guy like him coming in would certainly make things interesting. I want to get to the comments in the chat here on YouTube, but you've got your Shady Rays here.
I do.
Show everybody what you're rocking with. I got a slightly different style, but we got to be looking good, especially because folks are going to use code DNVR. I'll buy a pair and then I'll give one to you because you're my guests.
Okay.
And that's true for anybody out there. Buy one, you get one free. If you happen to lose or break your glasses, boom, they're going to hook you up with a brand new pair. If you don't like them, you can get a full refund within 30 days. You're going to love them. You could try them on in person at the Park Meadows Mall, where 2 or more pairs is going to get you 50% off when you mention code DNVR. Who on your show is the person that loses or breaks them?
Ryan. I think he said it on your show.
He did.
Too.
He admitted it. I just wanted to
I think he
rub it in.
He told us that he lost them in San Antonio or something recently this summer. I think that's what he told us on set.
Man.
Yeah. He's had to definitely use that loss and broken replacements, for
sure.
That nice thing that Shady Rays provides.
So
because
nice.
I'm lucky, or I'm not like, I guess I'm just super, I hate losing things. So I just try really hard not to. And I guess I'm somehow good at that. I just don't let my Shady Rays out of sight because the sun can bother me. You know what I mean? Sun's always out, especially in Chicago during the summertime, right? I got to have my Shady Rays all the time. So I'm really good about keeping my sunglasses close by.
It's amazing how that works when you just try to do something.
Yeah.
It usually works out. Yeah, we get 300 days of sun here, so we've got to have that.
Yeah.
And we've got great sports teams here. Appreciate all the shout out too. Like, hey, we're in Philly now. PHLY, CHGO, PHNX, all 3 teams battling for wild card spots.
Yeah.
We just gotta have the catbird seat here in Denver for all the Rockies fans. But here's the thing: if you're trying to get tickets, Game Time Tickets is the way to go. I've had a hard time in the past getting Nuggets tickets, even going back to like 2019. Yeah, that's kind of when they first started breaking in, but they weren't the Nuggets that they are now, or even the Nuggets of just like 2 years ago. Cousin Jordan was coming out for a visit, couldn't get any reasonably priced tickets. All the ones that were available had awful sight lines, upper deck, didn't like it. Then I started using Game Time Tickets. You start using it now. New customers, DNVR is the code. You get $20 off that first purchase. My favorite part is you can actually find out what your view is from your seat. So you don't have to guess, like, how is this going to look being on the corner? Is it going to be iffy? You might like it. It might be totally fine for you. And then you're going to save money because you don't need to be, on the 50-yard line, or you don't need to be, courtside or whatever. You're going to know where you're going to be looking with the view options that they have over on Game Time Tickets. So download the Game Time app, create an account, use code DNVR for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code DNVR for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed.
I used Game Time today to get my tickets to the Rockies Cubs game.
And you got a good deal.
I did get a good deal. Like I said, second row in foul territory right field for $23. That's a pretty good deal.
That's damn good. Yeah, the debate right now is whether or not Kris Bryant was the best free agent outside the organization that they brought in. Will, of course, pointing out, Todd Helton never was a free agent, so obviously highest contract or most money ever made with the Rockies. It's between Kris Bryant and Larry Walker, and I actually think it's Larry Walker because at the time he was a free agent. He was the best offensive player that year going into 1995. Didn't have his MVP yet like Kris Bryant did. Wasn't a Rookie of the Year award winner like Kris Bryant was. So he didn't have a World Series because he played with the Montreal Expos. Yeah. But still, I mean, you could certainly make the debate, and that's a fun one to have. That's why you got to be watching us live on the DNVR Sports channel on YouTube. Go ahead and like, share, and subscribe that, or give us a review wherever you are listening to this as a podcast. 34 outfield assists this season for the Rockies, 5th most in a single season in franchise history, most in the National League. Pete Crow-Armstrong, does he have a good arm? He's got some good range. He made a play today where it was almost like he overran it because he was so darn fast. Where for half a second you were thinking, is he going to dive for that? And it was like, no, not even close, because he just moves that quick. That's kind of the same thing with Brenton Doyle in center field.
Yeah, I just, this is how much I know about PCA. Coming in to his, this week with his major league debut, I've seen highlight after highlight of him making incredible catches like we saw last night, right? Mm-hmm. I think as far as the arm, I don't think it's his strongest point based off what I, saw this, today. But I think his range is probably his strong point. I think he would excel really well in a ballpark like this. So if he can excel in a ballpark like this, then I feel very good about him at Wrigley Field a lot of times moving forward.
Are we gonna trade players here? Are we trading Kris Bryant for Pete Crow-Armstrong? Is that what we're doing here?
No, we're not gonna do that. Not now. As much I just sat here and I said all these things about Kris Bryant, but no.
Oh, okay.
Not with that contract right now. Unless my dream is that one day, whenever he maybe he's his last year, and his contract's up with the Rockies or whatever, that maybe he signs a 1-year deal with the Cubs. To do the retirement tour or whatever,
sure.
You know what I mean? It to me, I feel like that'd be fun, and he would be, and it would be for him to be a bench guy, a guy that just sparingly plays, waves to the fans, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, that'd be fitting. I mean, Charlie Blackmon is Charlie Blackmon's
He's been
contributing
here forever. Has he ever
13th
been?
year? No.
I was gonna say, has he ever been on another team? I didn't think so.
No, he's only
He's got
a Rocky.
one of the best beards in baseball.
He's great. It's fantastic. Still got the mullet going.
Yeah.
I mean, he's one of the longest tenured players on any team, major leagues, and then you go back to when he was drafted in the minors. I mean, he's just been with the Rockies forever, so you got to hope he gets an extension. Germán Marquez, we've kind of touched on it during some of our shows. Did sign a 2-year, $20 million extension. With escalators, though, it could get up as high as an additional $11 million. $2 million if he's on the active roster for 30 days. Another $2 million if he's on the roster for 60 days. Then from there, if he's on the if he pitches 140 innings, another $2 million, 160, another $2 million, 180, another $2 million. So if he's really good, I mean, that's going to be fine. If you trade him, he's going to get another $1 million deal. He's a guy. He's only pitched with the Rockies. They did acquire him in a trade from the Rays, but he'll enter free agency going into his age 31 season. Still so really young. He's going to have a lot of Rockies franchise records. What's been your view on Germán Marquez from afar. He wasn't the guy that shut the Rockies down in that wild card game. That would have been Kyle Freeland. But still, Germán Marquez has a lot of baseball left in his future.
Yeah, he's all like the last handful of years. He's the one that I'm like, okay, I've seen him do well outside of Coors, even at Coors. So, it's kind of the same thing with him too, right? Like he just needs to stay on the field, right? He's had some injury problems.
He's been relatively durable before this season. He's been very durable. If you look at inning leaders, going back to 2017, his first full season, he debuted in 16. He's been really durable. That's been one of his calling cards, and of course his ERA is going to be over 4 at Coors Field. Yeah. But still, he's a guy that he's got the strikeout in him, and in fact, he only needed 3 strikeouts to break the Rockies franchise record. Yeah. Would have got that before, boom, UCL blows out right there on the mound. In the game, you go, hey, this is the one. Get the graphics ready. New franchise record. No, we're going to have to wait about a year and a half for him to finally do that. So that was obviously pretty sad. Yeah.
Yeah, no, he's, I hate to say it, but it's rare when you find a good pitcher in Colorado.
Yeah.
And, he's definitely one when the Cubs have gone up against him. I'm like, okay, this guy's different from the other guys that we faced. But, got to stay on. Got to hopefully comes back healthy next year, right? And that's nice of them to give him those incentives on that contract.
Yeah,
just based off, what they know.
Yeah.
So.
In the comments, Pete Crow-Armstrong, he would need to have his outfield assist near 105 miles an hour, which we know that's what Bretton Doyle has got as his little sidearm there. I mean, he's a cannon. It's funny, you mentioned maybe the arm needs a little something. This will put a smile on a lot of people's faces. I asked you, I go, what were some of the good throwbacks that you saw out there from Cubs fans? And you said Juan Pierre. And I go, yeah, there's a great Cubs-Rockies crossover. Yep. And so maybe Pete Crow-Armstrong, Juan Pierre 2.0? He's got to have more power than Pierre.
For sure. He definitely has more power than Juan Pierre. But, I mean, coming up through the minors, he was hitting leadoff with every minor league team for the Cubs on his way up. So I don't think he's going to be hitting leadoff for the Cubs this year or the rest of this year, but I could easily see him hitting a leadoff opening day in 2024. So, he's exciting talent. There's a really, really high ceiling, and unfortunately, honestly, like his debut series didn't exactly go well, except for the defense. The bad, this should have been an error today. But, those 2 catches yesterday were nice, and, he didn't start the first game of the series. I think he came in as a pinch runner, and he didn't really do much. But
got caught stealing.
Yeah, got caught stealing, right?
Sorry.
No, he's a rookie. I need as much, like, that's kind of like the
in a pennant race, too.
Yeah.
Keep that in mind.
Right. That's what, like, these mistakes that he's made, it's like, that's kind of like the tug and pull with the whole, like, calling up your top prospect is like someone to come up and maybe spark the team, and it's like, well, he's never played the major leagues before. He's gonna make some mistakes, and you just gotta kind of go with the ups and downs with it, the roller coaster of it, and you just kind of hope that things start to slow down for him eventually. For me, I'm hopeful that he just plays solid defense and can eventually hit well enough to that you feel comfortable putting him in the lineup, because it's hard to have any expectations on him. Put expectations on him in a playoff race in the middle of September, with already the expectations being the top prospect in the organization and have all this hype and stuff. So I mean, he's not even just the top prospect in the organization. He was a top 12, top 13 prospect in all baseball according to Pipeline. So. Yeah, there's a lot of pressure on this guy to go out there and perform. So I'm hoping, he's got the first series out of the way. He had some good moments. He had some bad moments. Let's go to Arizona and kind of refresh and, see what he can do out there. I was hopeful. I thought calling him up for a series against the Rockies was going to be good for him, considering, at least from the hitting perspective, but we didn't see anything from that. So it'll be interesting to see how he does against Arizona.
Gets those mistakes out of the way early. Maybe that's a good thing. Broncos need to, they got their mistakes out of the way early.
So
you got to hope. Yeah, that's it. No, but look, it's Broncos Country Month all month long for Breck Brew. Look, they've got Colorado ingredients. They got their the high wire hops from North Fork Valley. So Colorado company maybe with 100% renewable energy. That's what we're drinking at the tailgates, what we're drinking here at the bar. You can drink one on set if you need to, Cody. I mean, tap in Breck Brew, Broncos Country. That's the spot. Go to breckbrew.com to find a brew near you. Can you explain to us the summer of Mike Taucman? Speaking of former Rockies players.
Rockies legend.
Yes.
The
Rockies
summer
legend.
of Mike Taucman. He came up. He finally got in at bat today.
Yeah.
He came up in that 8th inning and I walked on 4 pitches. I was rooting for, the Mike Taucman revenge game or something. But how it started, I was just in my apartment in the middle of June, and it all started when the Cubs got swept by the Angels in June, and then went to San Francisco and won 2 of 3. And what happened in San Francisco is David Ross started putting Mike Taucman in the leadoff spot, and then I wouldn't say the Cubs took off, but he took off. He was red hot for a couple months. And I think I was just in my apartment one day, like a week later on a Saturday. I was having a couple beers with my friends, and he did something. I can't remember exactly what he did, but I just, a couple beers there, man, I was like, where were you for the summer of Mike Taucman? Because it's like, where did this guy come from? He was a spring training invite. Like, he's kind of been a journeyman throughout his career. He's like early 30s. Like, he's an easy dude to root for because it's not like he had any expectations. No Cubs fan knew who he was before, he started getting regular playing time. And so that's kind of how it started. And then
he robbed that big home run. Didn't he rob a game-winning home run?
He robbed that home run in St. Louis.
Yeah.
Alec Burleson, I think, hit it in the 9th inning off Albert Alzolay, and it literally just brought it back in, saved the game, literally saved the game. That was probably his peak moment as a Cub.
And he's an Illinois native.
Yeah.
So I think he grew up as a Cubs fan.
Yeah, he's from Palatine.
Yeah.
Which is like a northwest Chicago suburb, I believe.
Went to Bradley. Peoria guy.
Yeah.
I mean,
definitely went to Bradley.
This is good for him.
He's probably just enjoying the ride. I feel bad for him now. He's losing playing time because PCA is here, but PCA, he definitely has a lot more tools than Taucman does. Taucman's like a solid 4th outfielder on a good team, in my opinion. But he certainly was a huge part of the Cubs getting back into the playoff race, because for a while it looked like they were going to be selling at the deadline. At one point, they were 10 games under 500. And then they got red hot to start the second half of the year and find themselves near 500. He saves the game in St. Louis. If he doesn't make that catch, that could have shifted everything. Yeah. They might have sold anyway. But in some ways you can argue that he saved the season for the Cubs in terms of just being competitive. So yeah, it's a fun bit that kind of took off.
There's a shirt too.
Yeah, we
took off.
We collabed with a shirt with this shirt brand back in Chicago. It's called Obvious Shirts. There's a ton of them at Coors Field today. It's one of the bigger Cubs fan t-shirt brands out there. Joe Johnson, shout out. He listens to our show all the time, and all of us at CHGO wear his shirts all the time too. So we have a really good relationship, and he has the player licensee, so we were able to put his name on the shirt, which is clutch. And so, yeah, the only thing that I haven't seen is Mike Taucman wearing the shirt or someone else on the Cubs wearing the shirt.
Make that happen.
That would be what I want to see. That's the last thing I want to see from it, because the shirt was made and it was cool and people bought it and people tweeted at me and all that. But yeah, no, he's a fun story for the Cubs this year.
That's cool.
He became a big part of this year's team, and the whole where were you for it? It's kind of like thinking in 10 years when you think about who you ever think about former Rockies random players
all day
Juan Pierre, for example.
That's all I do. I get paid to actually do that. So yes, I do think about old Rockies.
So in 10 years we'll think, and you think 2023, Mike Taucman, where were you for the summer of Mike Taucman? That was kind of the idea behind it, because he's going to be a random Cub that people will think about one day whenever we're talking about center fielders or something like that. And it's just fun conversation to have with baseball fans.
All right, couple quick hits before we get out of here. 30 seconds or less. Sammy Sosa, should he be in the Baseball Hall of Fame?
Yes.
Because he wasn't the only guy juiced up.
Yeah, no, he
Same.
I think he should be in the Baseball Hall of Fame. At the very least, the Cubs need to be welcoming him back to Wrigley Field.
That's a big one.
That honestly, at this point, that's what I'll take that. It's so disappointing to me that the Cubs have continued to like let this whole steroid thing loom over him. And the thing is like Sammy Sosa created a whole generation of fans. I'm one of them. Millennials love Sammy Sosa, and like
retire his number.
Exactly.
Start
the
there.
fact that they just keep ignoring like that he was like a Cub, but continue to play his highlights and stuff at the ballpark.
Interesting.
On their TV network. It honestly makes me sick. So yes, he should be.
Okay, that's a good one. I'm on the same page there.
That's probably more than 30 seconds, but whatever.
Pete Crow-Armstrong, 2024 National League Rookie of the Year.
Why not? I think he has all, like I said, he has all the hype, or not all the hype, all the tools, all the upside to be a 20 or 30 plus stolen base, Gold Glove caliber leadoff hitter who can maybe hit you 10 to 15 homers a year and have a really high on base percentage.
Okay. Yes or no, Justin Steele, Cy Young, is he going to do it?
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
If he's not now, I don't know what you're smoking.
All right, so tell me what the Cubs fan experience is coming to Coors Field, because you guys invade.
Yeah.
And Monday night it was the start of it. Take me out to the ball games going on. Root for the should be Rockies, and sometimes you hear other fans. No one was really singing the song. They were just waiting to shout Cubbies or Rockies. It was so loud.
Yeah.
Just the battling of Cubbies, Rockies.
Yeah.
The stadium like vibrated just a little bit. So this was your first time coming in. What was your thoughts? Were you surprised how many Cubs fans? I mean, you probably were a little bit prepared for that.
I'm always told that there are a lot of Cubs fans here in Colorado.
Yeah.
Like not just Denver, but just in Colorado. And so was I surprised to see a lot of Cubs fans there this week? No. Was I surprised to see it be 75, 80% Cubs fans over Rockies fans in the ballpark? A little bit, just because like maybe it's just because the Rockies are bad, but like I don't know. I guess I expected it to be more 50-50. I don't think I've ever
50-50 is pretty crazy if you think about it. Like, I mean, so you thought it was actually there's more Cubs fans?
Yeah.
It probably was.
Yeah,
but
for
50-50
sure.
in and of itself. I mean, I wonder how many places you could go to that are 75-25. Like, even that is kind of wild if you think about it. Like, at CU Buff. So, Kale, I don't know if you were there for the Nebraska game on Saturday. I mean, Nebraska had their section, but that's like 1/20th, maybe even less, right?
There's like one section, right?
Yeah, tops.
Yeah.
But even 75-25 is wild. That happens a lot at Coors Field with fans, and you get it, and that's part of it. That's it can be helpful to the front office. It can also hurt them where you get complacent, but that's also another reason, going back to the whole tanking thing. Coors Field is recession proof. So even with the whole draft lottery business right now, I think there's a way you could creatively tank and be bad, and you're still going to make some decent money. People are still going to be coming to the game. You're still coming. You don't necessarily care if the Rockies plan to lose 100 games or if they were hoping to go 500 and they lost 100 games. You're still coming.
Yeah. See, this won't make a diehard Rockies fan happy, but like when I was walking around the ballpark yesterday, I was like, this is awesome. There's tons of places to go around here. There's some cool bars.
Yeah.
If I lived here, I would come here all the time, especially with how cheap tickets are. Like that's like any diehard Rockies fan would be like, no, don't show up, so they'll sell the team or something. Like they do that in Chicago sometimes when especially after the 2021 deadline, people were calling for ownership to sell. So like I understand that aspect. I know that Cubs fans travel. I feel like every time they go on the road, especially out west, there's a lot of Cubs fans. I expect to see a lot of Cubs fans in Arizona this weekend.
Oh, yeah.
And I expect, I feel like anytime they go to Milwaukee, there's a lot of Cubs fans who will travel up to go to when they play the Brewers. It's the same thing when they go to St. Louis. Anything in division, honestly. But yeah, I do think Cubs fans travel well. Did I expect it to feel like 75% of the ballpark this week was Cubs fans? Not necessarily. But am I like surprised by it? No, not really. Just because I know the fan base travels well. People care, and a big part of that is WGN.
Of course,
the
yeah.
Cubs being on WGN for a long time until they started their own network is a reason why there's a lot of Cubs fans around the country.
Atlanta with TBS,
right? And I mean when the Rockies start, in the
93?
93. Yeah. So before then, like I'm sure a lot of people here in Denver or in Colorado, like they probably liked either the Braves or the Cubs.
Giants fans too, from how good they were in the 80s as well. So yeah, it's that comes with the territory of going to Rockies games, being a Rockies fan, seeing what it's like at Coors Field. Cody, man, this has been wondrous. Go ahead and plug away, let folks know where they can find you at, because you got some good fun takes, and Rockies after October 1st, they're not really going to be doing anything. So hey, if you want a little juice in there.
If you guys want
Cubs,
to,
baby.
hop on the Cubs bandwagon, I will appreciate it. But yeah, you can follow me on Twitter or Instagram at Cody_CHGO, CHGO Cubs Podcast, CHGO_Cubs on Twitter as well. CHGO Sports YouTube channel. If anyone here is a Chicago sports fan or has friends who like Chicago sports, check out all of that. This studio is, for it to be in a bar, it's a lot different than back in Chicago. I'm gonna definitely go back, and I'm gonna keep pressing about how we need to get a bar in Chicago that we can put our studio in. So it was great. I appreciate you having me on, man, and it was fun.
Yeah, thank you, man. Yeah, that's one of the cool things too with the Diehards. Besides the Diehards only Discord, like you get 15% off your food and drink. Like,
oh, nice.
You can have a good time, and it's gonna pay, your membership's gonna pay for itself. If you're a diehard. So appreciate you, Cody. Make sure you're following us at DNVR_Rockies. I'm at Patrick D. Lyons on Twitter. Appreciate the momentum, but as we say here in the baseball podcasting world, your momentum is only as good as your next show. So, of course, it's going to be a good one on Friday. Another Susie show lining up for you right here on DNVR Sports, live on YouTube.